Hi and welcome to GRVO TV, G's Reviews, Views and Opinions. First of all, happy Christmas. I am getting in the festive spirit. Mr. Snowman here. Sorry he's not lit up, but I couldn't reach the plug socket. I am doing a video in response to a couple of questions, which was about buying a cheap digital SLR. Now, cheap doesn't always have to mean poor quality. So the person that asked me was quite specific. They had a couple of £100 to spend. They want to get a body and one sort of travel zoom lens, if you like, and see what I could come up with. So I've used a fair number of cameras in my time. I used to be, I started off with Olympus, then went Canon, and I've ended up Nikon. So I'm going to obviously talk about Nikons, but I will assume that you can get probably similar age products from Canon and do the same sort of thing. So this isn't about specifically buying these items, it's just to show you what you can get. Now, a couple of the specifics in the question were, one, they wanted a camera that would drive all Nikon lenses, including like the non-AFS lenses, and also, what else did they say? Oh yeah, the body must be in very good, if not mint condition. So anyway, I've done this challenge and this is what I've come up with. Now, the body itself is a Nikon D100, and the lens I've got is the lens which is a lens that I own, and it's the 18-70 DX AFS SWM ED 3.5 to 4.5. So I'll talk about the camera first. The camera cost me £89 plus a little bit of postage, so about 80, yeah, about 95 quid including postage. It's a 6.1 megapixel camera. The sensor is obviously a DX sensor. The reason I went for the D100 over things like the D40 and the D60 and the D70, which you can get for similar prices, is that this one is a little bit cheaper, but it has some nice control features on it. Now, the difference between say this D100 and the D7000 that I'm using here, yeah, is 10 megapixels. That's the headline. But I've got 6 megapixel images, which are absolutely fine. And the person that has emailed this said they print sort of A4 10x8s, that sort of size max. So a 6 megapixel image will easily do that with no issues whatsoever. So the D100, the reason I liked it, it's got the little function control on the front here, which is also similar to the D7000's little function control, where you've got manual focus, single point autofocus, or continuous autofocus. So that's a nice little touch just on a lever there. There is a little button here which is your depth of field preview, which is a nice touch. There you have the lens release button. On the top you've got a choice of single shot, multiple shot, and timer mode, and then you can set up the timer mode as normal to do 2 seconds, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, whatever. This shoots about, it seems to be around 3 frames per second, if that. It's not the quickest camera going, but it's adequate. Over on this side you've obviously got the on-off button, the shutter release, which has got the old-fashioned screw-in type if you want to do a thumb release, which is a nice little touch. You've got the flash button and the flash and the exposure compensation button there, which you use with one of the dials. Talking of dials, it's got 2 dials, one either side, which is a nice touch. Here you've got a light button, and that's also coupled with another button is to format your card. That light just turns the screen on the top there. This has got an autofocus motor built in, so it will drive the older Nikon lenses as well as the new ones. On the back you've got the metering modes here, so you've got matrix, spot, and the one in the middle, and that is surrounding your AE AF lock, and you can set that up as you want. Over here you've got the bracketing and the flash compensation button. Down the left hand side you've got the usual buttons that you have on a Nikon. You've got a little jog toggle switch thing there. There's a lock button to lock your focusing point, but to be honest, you don't lock it anyway on this, so it's unnecessary. It takes a compact flash card in there, which is all good. You've got under here DC in, video out, and a USB slot. So it's all nice and straightforward. Now, the big downside with any camera of this age and this sort of price is the LCD screen. You know, we're now used to 3.2 inch screens at least. You know, really high resolution. The screen on this, when I first looked at it, is 1.8 inches across. It is tiny. Now, the only information you can really glean from your photo is composition and the fact that you have actually taken a photo. There's not a lot else. You can zoom in a little bit. You can't really tell if it's in focus. So, you know, you're going to have to get used to that. It's quite fun actually, because I've taken a few pictures and thought, oh yeah, I think they look alright. You look at them and think, absolutely not, completely out of focus, or you know, vice versa. You look at one and think, oh, it looks too dark and dingy, and you put it on the screen on the computer and it's absolutely fine. And something I have noticed with this camera, it does seem to meter very well. The pictures I've got have been absolutely fine. Because of the weather, I haven't really taken an awful lot. Now, so what else is that? Oh, on the top dial here, yeah, there's no auto settings, there's no scene modes, there's none of that fancy stuff. You've got P, which is program auto, which is the only auto mode it's got. Then you've got shutter priority, aperture priority, and full manual. On the same dial, you've got ISO, so it's sort of a quick ISO. You flick it to ISO and then you use your thumb dial. White balance, quality, and also whether you've got centre point focusing or single point focusing, or like dynamic. But there's only about 4 points anyway, so I'd just leave it on single point autofocus. So that's all nice and simple, straightforward. What else can I tell you about it? Image wise, that's absolutely fine. I'm only going to upload one image, because if you go onto Flickr and put in Nikon D100, you can find loads of images. There's nothing wrong with the images that you'll get out of this camera whatsoever. It's really all about the feel and that. I've just taken an image which I'll flick up on the screen now of the like the inside the bearing of this little helicopter here. I've done sort of like a macro shot. I'll put that up on the screen now for you to have a little quick look at. Okay, now how I did that was I just put one of these macro lenses. I just screwed it to the front of the lens, and you can get in nice and close. And this is all within the £200 budget, but I'll talk about those in a second. So I'll just talk about the lens quickly. You can see my previous reviews on this lens. I think it's a wonderful little lens. It's the 18-70. It's got the silent wave motor. It's got a metal mount. It's got rubber weather sealing. It's got the manual auto override, so you can autofocus and then change your focus manually to override it. You've got your screen in there to show you your focusing distance. The lens doesn't rotate when you zoom it. It's internal focusing, so nothing moves outside when you're focusing. The zoom doesn't go out too far, so it doesn't make it a big, heavy, unstable lens. Nothing rotates. It comes with a nice hood, and that's it really. The images, the only downside I've heard people say is issues with the vignetting on this lens, but to be honest, I've never really noticed it, and that's all I can say about it really. I've not looked for it, but I've never noticed it on an image and thought, oh my god, you know, the vignetting's so bad on that, I need to change it. But it's never been an issue for me. So there you go. So as I said, with that, it's quite a close focusing lens anyway. You can get down to 0.38 of a metre. What's that, about a foot? And with one of these, you can get these for a tenner. You need 67mm ones. I've got mine are 72mm, but I've just got a step up ring. So you can get them for about a tenner. You get a set of 4, you screw them onto the front, take your picture, and absolutely brilliant for macro stuff if you don't want to buy a dedicated macro lens. So you can get all of that for less than £200 if you shop around. I mean, this body I got is in pretty much mint condition. The only thing I noticed was the door on the CF card. It sort of had a rattle to it. So all I've done, there's a little bit of felt in there which I've stuck in, and that stops that, no problem at all. Other than that, I've put a what card have I got in there? I think it's about 4 gig. A 4 gig card gives you 1100 full res JPEGs. You can shoot in TIFF, you can shoot in RAW, and in RAW you'll get about 450 photos on a 4 gig card. So you don't have to buy big cards for it. Your pictures are going to not take up much space on your computer. They're going to be easy to work with. So, you know, absolutely fine. I couldn't upload my images using the card because I've got a Mac and it's got an SD card slot, but I just used it come with a USB lead, plugged it in, absolutely no problems whatsoever and no issues. So there you go, that's my review on the Nikon D100. It's an old camera, but still does a good job today, and if you want a digital SLR for less than 200 quid with a lens, with a few extra bits and bobs, I think that's a great combination. Anyway, hope this helps. Cheers, bye.